Welcome to Momming as a Millennial, the podcast where we explore the intersection of tradition and modern parenting. Have you ever felt overwhelmed trying to balance being a mom with your professional aspirations, all while dealing with side-eye from your parents who think you're doing it wrong? Me too. I'm your host, Christine Gerizzo, a journalist, blogger, and proud mama of 2 young children. I'm so glad you're here with me. Together, we can navigate the complexities of millennial motherhood and find what resonates with our true, authentic selves. Let's dive in. Welcome to another episode of Momming as a Millennial. Today, we are going to be talking about postpartum, and we're not going to be talking about that 6 to 12 weeks of physical recovery that we hear about so often, but we want to focus more on what really happens after you give birth and the emotional, psychological, hormonal imbalances and roller coaster that you go on after you give birth. And I have a great guest with me today to talk about that, Alyssa Maio. Welcome.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Do you want to start by just talking a little bit about yourself and your family, and we can get into it?
Yeah. So I have 2 young boys, full-time mom, work from home, all of those stresses. That's pretty much it. Like, I really just don't do anything other than that.
Yeah, it is a full-time job,
Mm-hmm.
having a job, and then having your children.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I get that.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to start by kind of level setting what we hear about the postpartum period
Mm-hmm.
and how I just think that it's all wrong. So
Yeah.
who decided on what these timeframes of postpartum is? I'm sure it wasn't women. It had to have been men. But we hear a lot about the 4th trimester. So that implies like another 3 months or like 12 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then I looked at a couple main sites. So Cleveland Clinic says postpartum period is 6 to 8 weeks, which is like ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then the National Institutes of Health generously says it could be up to 6 months, but still not very accurate. Like when you're Googling these institutions that are providing information and how it's like, you should be all recovered after 12 weeks or 6 months at the most. I just think that that's, it's so misleading. And the physical recovery, maybe, and even then, I'm not even going to say that that's 100% accurate, but we know it's so much more than physical.
Oh, yeah.
So with that, like kind of in the back of our heads, let's talk about the actual time frame that it takes women to recover from giving birth. So you have 2 children. I have 2 children. I know it was very different for me for both of my children. So I kind of want to hear your experiences, your stories, like what it was like with number 1, with number 2, and if you could maybe say how far apart they were.
Yeah.
And then we'll go from there.
So my first child, when I had him, it was very different than the second. With him, I went back to work at only 6 weeks. So I had him in January, and the way that it is set up with our PTO and our time off, I did not have any PTO because it restarts in the new year.
Oh my gosh.
So for me, I had only the 6 weeks that I could take off, or else it would be unpaid. And at the time, I just could not afford to do that.
Right.
So I literally got my sign off from my doctor, and I was back to work in office at the time. So it was kind of like I just had to, and I couldn't really actually bond with him and spend time with him, but also just recover in the physical sense.
Yeah.
And then and I actually did not deal with a lot of postpartum with him. I think because I was just in such fight or flight mode. I just had to. I was kind of in autopilot and just, being a mom and working and doing all the things I needed to. I didn't really have time to have anything else going on. But with my second, I actually took a full 4 months off.
Oh, nice.
So that was way different. I was able to bond with him and spend a lot of time with him. But with him, the postpartum kicked in at 4 months when I went back to work. And I dealt with a lot of anxiety, depression, panic attacks, OCD, intrusive thoughts. It was a lot bundled into one, and something that I wasn't familiar with or even knew could happen 4 months in. I thought, okay, I'm back to work and I've spent 4 months at home with him, and I just didn't think that that was even possible. You just really don't hear about it as much. I just remember feeling so alone and not like myself. And kind of crazy. Like,
Yeah.
I hated to tell people about how I was feeling because nobody really understood.
Right.
So it was very, very different with him. And it lasted up until, I'm still dealing with it. And he's going to be 4 in the summer. So it takes a toll on you for years.
Yeah. Years.
Yeah.
So before we get into that, you brought up, going back to work. And I did do a little research on this because I think that plays into a lot of, we have this expected time frame that a woman is supposed to feel better and be back to normal. So then your employer expects you to be back to work and back to normal and dealing with everything just fine. So I look to see like what our country does versus others. And I can drop this link in the show notes if someone wants to take a look, because it goes through like pretty much all of the countries and what they give for pay. And the number one was Croatia. It gives 58 weeks with the first 6 months at full pay.
Wow.
And a lot of this is like, you have to take unpaid leave or partial paid leave, but they're guaranteeing your job will still be there. So can you imagine like having over a year to leave and then just walk back into your job when you're done and your child is a year old?
No, I think the expectation and the way that you feel is like, like that day's coming real quick.
Yeah. The U.S., UK and Australia and Bosnia actually have a year of leave with varying pay levels. And then the U.S., it's pretty much like it's far down the list. It's not at the bottom, but it was definitely at the lower half. And that's 12 weeks unpaid. So, you're just guaranteed that you have your job after 12 weeks, essentially. And I feel like that even is fairly new. It was like when we were having our first child, that's kind of when FMLA started. So it's not even like that was always in effect.
Yeah, we had, from what I remember, I think actually when I had my first son, they just rolled out the PFL.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. And it wasn't, I think it was maybe not even 50%. It might have been 50% of your pay.
Yeah.
But you also only accrue a certain amount of like PTO on those days.
Right. Yeah. So you're getting limited.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's why I couldn't even take any of it, because I'm like, I can't afford this.
Yeah.
It's terrible. 6 weeks and I was just back.
And then the fact that you have to like now bring your newborn baby somewhere.
Oh,
Did you send him to daycare?
He did go to daycare a couple days a week, and then he also went with my mother-in-law or like my mom. They would kind of switch off. Yeah. But that was hard because like I'm physically at work. I'm like, what's he up to all day? Or like, is he having trouble eating? So like with my first son, he was very colicky. And he also had like a lot of acid reflux. So he wasn't taking his bottles well. And I'm at work freaking out about it. I have no PTO. I just used what I could. Yeah. So it was terrible.
That's awful. I think, like you say, knowing that you're going to have to get to that daycare day, like the drop off of daycare, it's so anxiety ridden. And I just remember for the first one, I was in work full time at the office. Everything's different now, thankfully, actually. But like having to be 40 minutes away from where he was in daycare because I worked like on the other side of town and just never knowing. They don't update you enough. Like back then they weren't even like taking regular photos, and you would go and pick them up and it was like a written out thing. Like it wasn't even like in time updates. They just like, well, here's how his day was. And it would have something on there like, oh, didn't eat or was fussy for 7 hours, and you're like, oh my God, like why didn't anybody call me? But even so, what could you have done?
Yep, exactly.
I will say, we talk a lot about postpartum depression. And so after you go to your follow-up appointment, that's what I think the doctors focus on. So I remember my gynecologist asking me, she's like, do you want to harm yourself? Do you want to harm the baby? No? Okay, we're good. And it's like, that's it? That's all we're saying? Like, we're doing such a disservice to not be talking about all the other possible feelings and emotions that you could be having. Like, what was that like for you?
Yeah, so my experience with my second was not a good one, I would say. I remember calling when I started feeling these emotions that I didn't understand and thinking, that doctor should understand the most, and getting a response like, no, you're fine. Just it'll go away. That's literally what the doctor had said to me. And that wasn't my usual doctor. So because I called the on-call and I was just feeling very like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ended up calling again and I spoke to my usual doctor and she was a little bit more understanding. She kind of told me, you could reach out to a therapist and we call it baby blues. And
Yes.
yeah, so it was like more so like, it'll go away.
Yeah.
And for me, that wasn't the case. I mean, I remember this being probably within the first couple weeks that I was kind of feeling a little bit off and something wasn't right. And then, like I said, 4 months later, it hit me hard. So,
yeah, I think the term baby blues is really obnoxious.
yes.
Like, I hate it.
Same.
I had postpartum for both, but in very different ways.
Yeah.
And I did an episode with a woman last year, and she was like a hormone specialist. And honestly, it wasn't until like I was researching for that episode and like had that conversation that I realized like how much postpartum I actually had. When I was in it, I didn't even know. Like with my first, I wasn't showering. Like I just never, I would go like 2 weeks without showering. And she was like, that's a postpartum like symptom. And I'm like, I just didn't have time or didn't feel up to it. Or I was so afraid to leave his side. Like even when, because my husband and I would take turns, and even when it was like my nap time, I would lay on the couch next to them. Like the baby would be there, my husband would be there, and I would be on the couch because I'm like, even if I'm going to sleep, I need to be in like an arm's reach from this child. And it was really bad when my great aunt passed away, and I think he was 3 months at the time, and I had to go to the funeral. And it was a Catholic service, so you're there like all morning at the, funeral home, and then the procession, and then the mass, and then the burial, and then the breakfast and everything afterwards. And it was probably like 4 hours or something, and I was texting my husband literally every 10 minutes. Like, is he okay? And I couldn't wait to get out of there. I was so full of anxiety by the time I got home. I just like broke down and cried. I was like, I cannot be away from this child. And like, apparently that's not just, oh, I'm a new mother. Like that's normal. So
I didn't experience that with my first, but with my second I did. Even like at daycare, and the daycare that I had sent him to, they gave updates all the time. Like, he ate, or, he was changed, or this and that. And I still was like, there hasn't been an update in like 2 hours. And I'm like texting my husband, like, I hope everything's okay. They haven't updated us. And I get like nervous they're going to take them outside and things like that. And I would literally call there and be like, sorry to be annoying, but is everything okay? Is he okay? I was just like constantly wanting to check in and make sure that he was healthy and okay. And come to find out with my therapist, that was my postpartum OCD kicking in. So,
okay. See, I don't even have a name for it.
Yeah. It's like the obsession of thinking about, it could be like illness, like you're always scared they're going to get sick. And that was something I dealt with because I was constantly thinking like, COVID's around. I mean, he was born in 2022. So I'm like, COVID's still around. Oh my gosh, what if he gets COVID? What if he gets the flu? You hear of all these scary stories.
Yeah.
So OCD and intrusive thoughts really play in with each other because you're hearing stories or seeing articles about things, and then you're so obsessively worried that that's going to happen to your child or yourself, things like that.
Yeah. With my second, I was very much concerned about illness.
Yeah.
Because it was prime COVID. I remember like having to give birth, and I was like, I can't wear a mask while I'm giving, like I was so concerned about, and then just being there, we were there for, I would say like 28 hours maybe. I was like, get us out of this hospital, like with all these germs. Like we gave birth. I had to stay there one night, and I was like, please discharge us. Like we need to go now.
Yeah.
But that's really interesting about the OCD and the intrusive thoughts. I also experienced that more with my second, but then it like carried over to both kids, So I was like, okay, I didn't experience that after I gave birth to the first, but I did with the second, but now I'm like concerned about both kids.
Yeah.
And I think I mentioned to you, I remember because the school that they go to is very close to us, and I would hear sirens and start to panic. I hate to even like admit this, but there are several occasions where I actually got in my car and drove to the school to make sure that everything was okay because I was that concerned.
Well, you're not alone. We were probably both circling around the building. So
I'm like, why are the sirens? I heard sirens today, and I was like, don't do it. Don't do it.
I know. That's something that I always have to like talk to myself about because I'm just like, calm down.
Yeah.
Everything's okay. Like you said, there have been several times. I mean, I am like very close to their school, and I constantly am hearing things. It could be the garbage truck going by and a lot of banging, and I am instantly like, I just feel this like heat rise in me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope they're okay. And there have been times when I've used the excuse to myself, I'm going to go grab some lunch and I'm just going to go drive by the school real quick.
Oh yeah, I've done that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I totally get it.
I want to talk a little bit about what we've seen like on social media as of late, because I think these conversations don't happen nearly enough.
Yep.
I think that doctors in general, like we've talked about, they just kind of like, oh, you'll be fine. Oh, it's baby blues. Oh, you know, that's normal. Oh, you're a first-time mother. Of course you're worried. Of course you want to be around your baby. Like, that's natural. Like, no, it's not. But there was this thing that I saw that like sparked our conversation when I reshared it on my stories. But it takes 6 months for internal healing. So we're talking like about the physical, internal, like all your organs and everything going back into place. Because remember, all your organs like push out of the way for this baby and like get displaced. So all that has to like go back to how it was. And it doesn't just happen in 6 weeks. 12 months for overall physical recovery. 2 years for hormonal and brain restoration. In that episode with the hormonal specialist, we talked about how your brain actually changes. Like the gray matter in your brain when you're pregnant changes in different areas to like allow for the caregiving. So like your physical brain is morphing when you're pregnant and have a baby.
Wow.
So
I did not know that.
It takes time. And I don't think, like I was just reading something before this, that it doesn't go back to exactly how it was before. Like you're forever changed. But there are, like it does dial back a little bit. So 2 years for some of that. And then 5 years to reclaim your identity due to hormonal imbalance, which could just wreak havoc. And that hit me because I remember my daughter was 4 and all of a sudden I like woke up one morning and I had energy and I was like, wait, I feel different. And then like all day long, I was like, something is weird. And it literally was like a switch. And I was like, I feel so happy, so normal, so energized. And I was like, holy crap, I think I have been in a postpartum period or hormonal fog for 4 years.
Yeah.
It's wild.
I definitely, I've noticed a lot with the hormones. Like I'm very in tune with my body, very in tune with like when I'm ovulating, things like that. And I remember talking to my therapist about it because I'm like, you know, the past week I've been feeling very on edge, so much anxiety. And I'm looking at my phone and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm ovulating this week. It's that increase in hormones. So I started noticing every time I was like ovulating or things like that, I would have such an increase in my panicking and my anxiety. And same thing as you, like I feel like I just, as of recently, I mean, like I said, he's going to be 4 soon, but as of recently, like I feel like I just like woke up one day and I'm like, I don't really want to have anxiety anymore. Like I feel like good and normal.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's normal to 10 these days.
Yeah.
That's interesting that you had the same experience. That's wild.
Yeah.
There's just like so many other things I want to talk about. So panic attacks, like what did that look like for you?
So I have some fun stories.
Yes. Okay, great. Not great, but let's go.
And not to embarrass myself at all, but I don't mind telling this story because I think now in hindsight, looking back, I can laugh at it. But at the time it was very like, what is happening? So when my youngest was about 4 months, when everything started happening, we all got the flu. And I was praying that he did not get it. Like, because he was only 4 months old and I didn't know how that would affect his body. So we're all like coughing, we're all sick. And I remember being upstairs in the bathroom and having my first initial like intrusive thought where it was like, oh my gosh, but what if you like just died because you got the flu and now you're going to die because you hear about people it happening all the time. And my body went into straight up panic mode. And I never experienced something like this in my life. I just felt super hot, but also cold, but also like I'm physically actually about to die right now. And I remember screaming to my husband, like, please call an ambulance. Something is wrong. And like he comes upstairs and he's like, are you okay? Are you sure you really want me to call an ambulance? And I'm like yelling at him to call an ambulance. That's how much I actually thought that I was not okay. Like something was about to happen. And I just remember like throwing myself under very cold water in the tub. He's on the phone calling an ambulance and they're like asking how I'm doing. And he's like, well, she's got her head under the water. And then I just started throwing up everywhere. He's telling them that and they're like, okay, like she's definitely not good. We're going to send somebody, but we're going to have to call you because we're so busy tonight. And I think that made me panic more because I'm like, what if I really am dying right now? What do you mean?
Help.
Yes, exactly. So now I look back and laugh because like, gosh, I had him call an ambulance and it was a panic attack. Like, but that's how debilitating they can really be. And then it's just a mental game after that. It's like constantly feeling like, okay, but what if this triggers me to have a panic attack right now? And that's where the intrusive thoughts also play a big role because I would be in public and constantly thinking about that and almost sending myself into a panic attack because I'm just battling myself. And it would start happening a lot more when I would go to doctor visits, which I found to be odd. But I think it had to do with my labor and delivery. Just in the hospital, I think hospital settings, doctor's offices, they were like starting to really freak me out in a sense.
That was like a trigger.
Yeah. So I would panic a lot in like waiting rooms. And I remember talking to my primary doctor, which I ended up switching because of this. But I remember saying like, I think I just had a panic attack in the waiting room. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, if I'm supposed to just reach out to any therapist. I didn't know what next steps to take.
Yeah.
And he was just kind of like, and just literally didn't even respond to me. So I ended up switching. But yeah, the panic, it definitely took over. That was where I kind of knew that I needed some help and I knew I needed a therapist, especially because like I had went in the office and, you know, these days I'm not used to going in the office. I'm not used to being under the lighting and, you know, all of that. And I had went in and I was sitting there and I'm like, I don't feel right. Like, I feel really sick right now. I feel like I'm going to get sick. I feel like I'm going to pass out. I started to get really panicky. And thankfully, I had a lot of support that I didn't know I had in the office with me. My boss and some coworkers, they were great. They were like, oh my gosh, like, I totally get it. This happened to me before. I dealt with it for so long. And when I left there that day, I told myself, like, you need to call somebody.
Yeah.
Like, you can't keep going through this. So, yeah, that's kind of what drove me because I couldn't deal with the panic attacks anymore.
Yeah.
They were awful.
I wasn't quite as severe as that, but there was a handful of times where, like, when I was going to bed at night, I'd be like, well, if I don't wake up, my kids aren't going to have a mom.
Yes.
And, like, what is that going to be like for them? And, like, I don't know that they'll be okay. And my husband's great, but, like, they need me. And then you just like start going through the situation. Like, are they going to have enough? Is he going to be able to provide for them? Like, but they're not going to be nurtured. Like, I've never like had anxiety my entire life until after my second one. Mostly.
It's funny you say that because I forgot all about that happening to me. But I used to stay up all night and just think about all these scenarios. Like, they were just the wildest, most irrational scenarios possible that could happen to me or my kids. And it was something that I thought about a lot. Like, death, I would say, was a big thing for me because I'm like, what happens if something happens to them? What am I going to do? What if something happens to me? What's going to happen with them? And it happened to me for so long that I could never sleep. It was making it worse. My anxiety was getting worse because I wasn't sleeping. And then I started to read at night, read my Kindle. And that's just like, I have to do that every single night now because that's the only thing that will get me to not overthink, to get so sleepy that I'm like, okay, put it away and fall right to sleep and not think about that stuff because that was really, really hard.
Yeah, and I think like being on screens right before bed always made it worse. I have really leaned into meditation, and so I'm trying to do that, like breathing exercises, calm my mind, calm my body. But yeah, like reading, I will read sometimes. It's crazy. And I really do wonder, the doctor who was like, oh, you're fine. Like the dismissive environment and attitude that women face in doctor settings and professional settings like that it's very upsetting.
Yeah. I think a lot of them just don't understand it, and then they just don't even try to give you the tools that you need. So like for me, I had to do my own research and find a therapist myself and just try to figure it out. And thankfully I was able to find somebody, but I don't even know what my life would look like right now if I didn't find her, or if I didn't try to, take the right steps myself, because those doctors were not helpful.
Like, how did you find her? What tools did you use?
So my sister-in-law, she was a huge support for me during all of this. She had kind of went through something similar, and she was seeing a therapist somewhere, and she had mentioned her. So I contacted them, and I was paired up with somebody. And thankfully, my therapist has told me this a million times, but thankfully with us, we kind of clicked right away, where she had told me that it can take up to 5 appointments to see if you are right for them and they are right for you. So I know a lot of people have reached out to therapists and, maybe didn't feel like it was right for them, but fully encourage you to just look up somebody else. But I was super, super lucky, and my therapist has been truly almost like a best friend. Like when I talk to her, it feels like I'm not talking to a therapist. I'm talking to somebody who really understands me and really wants the best for me and really tries to give me all of those tools for that.
Yeah, I love that. And you're right, because I'm on my second therapist and we're great. We did click right away. But the first time I was like, oh, maybe this isn't for me. And I think a lot of people do give up and they're like, well, I don't understand what everyone's talking about.
I know. It's like very off-putting if you don't connect, because then you're like, well, I don't know, it just wasn't for me. But I was just ready for it. And I think she was ready to like take on this. I don't know. We clicked really, really well.
I do want to ask you about going from 1 to 2, because when I had my second, I was so focused on my first. Like, and I think that was also some sort of like postpartum situation where I was like, I need to make sure he's okay and that he's going to be all right with this change. And now there's a new baby in the house, and like, are we giving him enough attention? And because I did that, I would say, and I couldn't breastfeed. Like I tried with him. I tried a little bit with her, but I knew like it wasn't going to work out. So my husband took care of her for probably like the first 3 weeks of her life. And I was so detached. We did not bond. I felt so guilty. I felt like a horrible mother. And now I'm realizing that that is kind of normal. It happens a lot. But I was like, wow, I should be more connected with her. I should, want to be around her all the time. I should want to support her. And I was so focused on my son and making sure like we're okay and you're all right with this. And I'm just interested what your
I would say that my experience was pretty much the same. They were almost 5 years apart, so that was really hard because he was in such a different stage and learning so much and just so like active and wanting to play and all of that. And I also felt very sad in the beginning, like so happy to have my second, but just so sad for my first. I'm like, oh my gosh, did I mess up having another one? Because like he needs my attention. He's only 5. And I wanted to be so active in everything that was going on with him that I also felt for a while this like detachment, which it sucked because I wasn't going back to work for 4 months. So that should have been my time to be able to bond with him. Yeah. And I do remember having those thoughts too. Like, shouldn't I feel a little bit closer? Like, shouldn't I? But it just wasn't. And I was very focused on my first. Yeah. Just like you said. Yeah.
I've carried so much guilt with me because of that. And now that you see other people's stories and you see similar things, it makes me feel a lot better. But again, it's frustrating that we don't talk about this, that doctors don't like share that with you, that it's not a conversation. And I think it's interesting too. I just want to point out, like you've said a couple times, the support at work and then the support with your therapist, and it's women who have, or your sister-in-law, who have gone through it. And it's like, so they know and understand exactly to your point earlier that like the doctor just didn't get it. No. Like you don't know how to help.
No.
So we need more of that.
Yes, I completely agree. I think it's so hard when you're surrounded by people who might not understand and you look to the women that have had kids too, especially because you're hoping that likely they went through the same thing so that you can relate to them in that sense. But I completely agree. Actually, thinking about it right now, I don't think there has been any man that's like, well, let's take this on. Like, here's what you should do, you know?
Figure it out.
Yeah.
And it's funny, too, because even like the generational difference, my mom and my mother-in-law, I don't know if they have amnesia or if it was just, like a different time and you weren't allowed to express that you felt a type of way, or you just had to grin and bear it, or this is just what motherhood is. And so when I express certain things, it's like, well, you're being dramatic, or it's not that hard. And I don't.
Yeah, like I said, I feel the same way because I think like with my mom, she tries to be supportive, but she doesn't understand it.
Yeah.
And I actually found that to be kind of crazy because she had me when she was like 16. So very young. You would think that maybe she would go through something like that.
Yeah.
But I would call her like freaking out. Oh my gosh, I think I'm going to have a panic attack. And it's just like, okay, well, calm down. And I'm like, I wish it was that easy. I wish I could just calm down and tell myself to calm down, but it's not that easy. But she did her best. Like, she would try to switch the conversation, make me not think about what I was thinking about. She tried to understand, but she just couldn't get there because she never was in that place.
Yeah. Or if they were, they didn't talk about it. And they just like shoved it under, it's probably some emotional.
Yeah. I mean, I think to this day, there's people that just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
They just think that they can't or shouldn't, or it's frowned upon. And I think that was like a big reason why I wanted to do this, because I feel like every woman out there should know, or anybody dealing with anxiety in general should know, like, you're not crazy. And those thoughts you're having, they might sound crazy when they come out of your mouth.
Yeah.
But I've been there, and they're actually not that crazy.
Yeah, like this is what I would have wanted to know before having a child. And not like, I know people say, well, I don't really want to know what's going to happen, or don't tell me everything because I'm going to get scared. And I'm the opposite. I'm like, tell me everything so that I could be mentally prepared. Or when it happens, I'm like, oh, I knew this was going to happen. I'm okay. This is how I deal with it. I'm not a psychopath who's like going off the rails.
Yeah, thinking about the craziest things. Like, my intrusive thoughts would take me places that's like, okay, I'm driving over a bridge right now, but what if I accidentally drive off the bridge?
Oh my gosh. I have had, and then, okay, so it's like you're in the car with your kids and you're like, well, what would I do? Who would I save? How would I get them which one would I unbuckle first?
I'm literally like playing a movie in my head, and I'm like trying to figure out what I would do.
The solution.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. And I think that's just because we have like bridges near us that we go over often.
Yeah.
Maybe other people don't experience.
Yeah, right? But it's like situations like that.
Yeah.
Like just the most irrational things. Like obviously, Alyssa, you're not going to drive off of a bridge.
Right.
But like my brain would try to tell me, but what if you do?
Yeah. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
You should be prepared.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing too is if you can't handle it, or if you need help and support, then you're a bad mom.
Yes.
Like that narrative is out there.
Yeah.
And it drives me crazy because it's like, no, I'm not a bad mom because I'm looking for help. I'm not a bad mom because I'm in therapy, that I need, support for how to deal with all this. So
exactly.
What types of things does your therapist, like, if you don't mind my asking, like, to help you cope?
We've done like a couple exercises. I think for me personally, it's really just getting it out there and talking about it. And I've kind of found my own ways to cope with things. But we've done some exercises that I think were super helpful, like the safe place, finding your safe place, things like that. But also like we do like the butterfly tapping.
Oh,
yeah. So like when you're feeling the anxiety, you just take your deep breaths, do the butterfly tapping.
I just learned about that because my son is seeing somebody and she was doing that with him. And I was like, oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah, I think that really helps, especially like the deep belly breathing. That helps a lot. She does tell me to do the meditation. I haven't really touched into that yet. I do want to. I think it's hard for me because I don't know how I'd like it. I think it's just something I have to try.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard to quiet your mind. I've found that like listening to other people lead the meditation is a lot more helpful for me to like guide it rather than me just sitting down and being like, okay, I'm going to meditate now.
Right. And we've done something too where you kind of close your eyes, you think about something that has been weighing heavily on you, or, just a word that relates to that feeling, and you lock it up and you do a lock and key and you place it wherever your mind is thinking. So like for me, it was like locking these words up around anxiety and panic and feeling safe. That's one of my biggest triggers, is feeling safe. Putting it in a box, putting a lock on it, putting it under the stairs in my basement, like that's where my mind went, and just walking away and it's locked up. It's in your basement. Don't think about it. Kind of just putting it out of your mind. And I think that one actually really, really helped me a lot.
Yeah, I did a similar exercise with my therapist, and it was like a black box, and you mentally put everything in and then you seal it up. Interesting. So what would you like to leave new moms, new postpartum moms, even if it's not their first? Like, what would you like to leave them with?
That you're not alone. Call a therapist. Don't worry about what other people think about it. You're not alone. There's so many people out there who have experienced it. Like in my case, not even knowing that my coworkers have experienced it and thinking that I was alone in that moment, but then them all surprising me like, no, I've been there. Just having support, really. Talk to whoever makes you feel comfortable, whether that's a therapist, a family member, a friend. I think it's really important to get it out there and not just bottle it up.
Yeah, I love that. And I think talking about it more, you're going to find those other people who have experienced it and who can help you in your support groups, and just being vocal to your comfort level, of course. But in general, like women as a whole, I think putting it out there more, talking about it more, removing like the stigma and making it less taboo, I think is so important.
Yeah.
So. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being
Of
here.
course.
I
Thanks for
appreciate
having me.
this conversation. I think it's wonderful. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And remember to share with your millennial mom friends. But until next time, we'll see you. Thanks for tuning in to Momming as a Millennial. If you enjoyed the episode, please share it with a friend or on social. You can find more from me at contemplativemama.com. Until next time.